Hello, grade 7. How are you? Good. I hope that you are doing great. How's it going with you? Okay, grade 7. We spoke previously about cells, if you remember. Then we said group of cells give me tissue, group of tissues give me organ, and group of organs give me organisms, right? Then we spoke about plants as living organisms and animals as living organisms. Today, grade 7, we are going to know about living things that are not made from tissues. Yeah, they are not made from tissues or organs or organ systems. Yes, let's know about it. We are going to know about microorganisms. Some organisms, grade 7, are not made from tissues, organs, and organ systems. These organisms have a body from only one cell and are called microorganisms. So, microorganisms are organisms that have a body made from only one cell. From what? Only one cell. Most can only be seen by using a microscope. Most of them, we see them just by the microscope. But some of them grow together in such large number that their colonies can be seen by the naked eye. Like in grade 7, you can see just with your eyes how when they grow together and make colony. Okay, they make together a colony, then together you can see them with your eye, exactly like down. Look at down, it is a bread, yeah? It's a bread that we have over it some microorganisms. We can see it with our eyes. Why? Because they are together, they grow together, and they make for us colonies. That's why we can see it with our eyes. Microorganisms in grade 7 are divided into three large groups or kingdoms. We can say three large groups or three kingdoms. Kingdoms. They are fungi kingdom, Monera kingdom, and Protoctista kingdom. And today, grade 7, we are going to know about, maybe we are going to know just some of it. Then after that, you are going to know about them all. Okay, let's start with fungi kingdom. It may seem surprising to find the fungi described as microorganisms. Why? Because when they are in a large number, such as the mushroom, can be easily seen without a microscope. You can see down in this picture. Down I have mushroom, and mushroom are microorganisms, but they are together in large number. Okay, that's why we can see just with our eye without in need of microscope. Okay. However, at one stage in their life cycle, they cannot be seen and behave like other microorganisms. This is the spore stage. It is called what? Spore stage. And this spore stage occurs when fungi reproduce. So in grade 7, when fungi reproduce, this is the spore stage. And in this stage of their life cycle, they cannot be seen. We can't see it. And behave like other microorganisms. I want you to look down. This is a group of spores in the left. And in the middle, here is a spore under the microscope. Okay? Then they told you that fungal spores are carried by air and water and can travel long distances. They are carried by what? By air and water and can travel long distances. They are so light and they are so small. We cannot see it with our eyes. Okay? The spores have a protective coat. the spores have what? Have a protective coat that protects it. You can see down in the picture, the last one, or from the right, you can see it. You see this green circle. This is spore coat, and this coat protects it. It helps it in what? It helps them survive in heat and in cold and dry conditions. So it is not easy to die. Fungal spores are protected by protective coat that helps them survive in heat and cold and dry conditions. Okay. Only when the spore lands in conditions that are favorable to growth of the fungus does the spore case break open. So I told you it has a protective coat, right? And this protective coat helps it survive in heat, cold, and what? Very good. And dry conditions. When this spore, which is carried by air and water, lands or be in a condition that are favorable to growth, that are suitable to growth of the fungus, the spore in this case break open. It opens just when it lands in conditions that are favorable. When this happens, when they are landed and they break open, a thin thread called hypha grows out and begins to digest any food around it. So the spores are closed when they land in conditions that are favorable to growth. They break open. When they open, something that is called hypha, and this hypha is a thin thread, grows out and begins to digest any food around it. As it feeds, it grows and many hyphae are produced. It grows as it feeds, it eats a lot, then a lot of hyphae are produced. Okay, you can see that. Let's start with the spores. The spores, as I told you, the spore germinate, or let's say it's open. Then a hypha, yes, grows out. A hypha is a thin thread. Okay, you can see it down. Do you see it down in this life cycle of the mushroom? Then the hypha start to digest any food around it. Then a lot of hyphae are produced. Okay. As they grow, they form a larger structure. The hyphae, when they grow, they form larger structure called what? Called a mycelium, which in time produces fruiting bodies, of which the mushroom is an example. So in grade 7, I have the life cycle. The spores, we said that the spores have a protective coat. When these spores land in a suitable condition or favorable conditions to grow, the coat break opens and a hyphae grows out. This hypha starts to eat anything around it, undigested. Then after that, a lot of hyphae grow. Okay, then as they grow, they form a larger structure called a mycelium. In time, this mycelium produces fruiting bodies, of which the mushroom is an example. Okay? Now let's know about what is called molds. I know that all of you know molds, but you don't know the scientific name. You see down in the bread, this is molds, and here I have a sauce also, there is mold above it. Molds produce a mycelium that can be seen growing on food like bread. And their fruiting are tiny black globes called sporangia. When they fruit, their fruiting are tiny black globes called sporangia. So now I know about mushrooms and I know about molds. Molds produce a mycelium that can be seen growing on food like bread, and their fruiting are tiny black globes called what? Sporangia. Yeasts. Yeast, grade 7, are microorganisms in all stages of their life cycle. They do not produce hyphae. They don't produce what? Hyphae. And when they are fully grown, they produce copies of themselves that stick to their bodies and are described as buds. You can see it down. I have the parent yeast cell, then bud forming. You see it, it stick to their bodies. Then the bud nipped off. It makes for me 2 cells. But buds remain attached. They form long chain of yeast cell. Okay? And up there, the green picture, it is the yeast under the microscope. A few fungi, grade 7, a few fungi are parasites. And when I say parasitic fungi, they cause for us serious diseases, maybe for us, for plants or animals. Okay? For example, athlete's foot is caused by a fungus that feeds on damp skin between the toes. Do you see down in this picture? This is called by parasites. Okay. Now, let me give you example for useful yeast, or yeast that we can use it in our food. Yeah, do you see that one in the picture in the left? This is yeast, right? You all know it. Let's know together how we make the bread. Bread, as we know, is made by mixing flour, water, yeast, and sugar. This sugar in order to help yeast work, okay? Yeast and sugar into a gray-white lump called dough. Down in the right, this is the dough. Inside the dough, the yeast respires and produces bubbles of carbon dioxide that make the dough rise. Bubbles of carbon dioxide. It works and it produces gases. Which gases? Carbon dioxide. And this carbon dioxide make the dough rise. That's why the dough, when we rest it, we put it to rest, we find it rise. Why? Because the yeast respires and produces bubbles of carbon dioxide that make this dough rise. In a bakery, the dough is cut into pieces to make loaves. Down in this picture, they call it loaves. Each piece of dough is put into a baking tin. Into what? A baking tin. When bubbles of gas are heated, they expand. Yeast also need some warm place. When they are heated, they expand. So the tins are kept in a warm cupboard. Why? Because it needs place that is warm in order to work. And as I said, the sugar helps it to work. We keep it in a warm cupboard for about half an hour to allow the dough to rise even more. The more time you put it, the more rising you find it, okay? You find it rise even more. They are then placed in an oven for baking. You can see it here in these pictures. They cut it, they put it in a tin. Here in the other picture up, do you see the bread? Near the bread to the right, this picture, they show you the bubbles of gas inside the dough. If you make something at home, then you touch it, you will find it exactly like this. You will continue this lesson in grade 7, but you will find it in the other part of this lesson, in the other video. See you there.